Howdy, folks.
Hey,
It is your dad's again after quite a hiatus.
I always between splits I forget what this show is and how we do it. And boy, if that is not the case this time around, what is going on here?
Yeah, no, we definitely are not out of practice at all.
Yeah.
I apologize that there's people in chat mentioning there's no pre-pod music tonight. That is a function of me being on a portable setup. I am uh, live from my brother's basement,
Nice.
so there's that. This is my microphone today. This little Apple wired thing,
Ooh,
and
fancy.
operating off of a MacBook Pro here, running Windows, which is dubious, and then run a show on an iPad that's down here because for the camera angle, I have to elevate this MacBook. It's just going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be different. New,
This is
fresh energy.
what we're willing to do to bring you a pod. And the other thing is I can't actually see Cole. So I'm on a phone call.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, didn't mention that. He can't even see me because, great plug here, since I'm not running my Elgato Cam Link Pro, my camera can only go to one program, and it's going to Streamlabs instead of going to Google Hangouts and Streamlabs like I could do if I was recording with the beautiful Elgato Cam Link Pro. So thank you to them for hooking us up on our ordinary setup.
Yeah.
And we're powered by Ripid as well. So with that being said, hi everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show. It's summer now. We missed a week because, as I alluded to, I'm actually on vacation. This is a 3-week long vacation. It's the longest vacation I've ever taken. It's very stressful. There's 3 1-week parts back to back, like different things that we're doing. And
Three phases of this
3
vacation.
phases, and we
Yeah.
are in the start of phase 3. So
Welcome to the home stretch.
I should be back in the comfort of my own home for next week's pod, but this one will be the basement pod.
Yes. This reminds me of there were a couple times where I did like my in-laws porch pod.
Oh yeah,
We've done some things over the years just to make this really interesting for ourselves. But
yeah, no, that's great.
it's good to have you on the other side of it for once.
Yeah. So, talking about the show for tonight, it's kind of weird, since we missed week 1 because I was on the road. I think I was in the Badlands in South Dakota at the time of the last show.
Good place to be.
But we didn't get to talk about week 1. We're going to just say sorry and move on to week 2 and really focus on what we're seeing right now more than talk about last week and this week combined. So BC just said, is this live from the Thieves' Den? I guess that's a way to pull it off, yeah.
Basically.
So, yeah, we're going to talk mostly about these 2 games that we watched this past week. Of course, we'll do some listener takes, and we'll hit some general things as we go, like we always do.
As always.
At this time. So, Jordan, without further ado, let's move on to 100 talk.
Okay. I'm ready.
So, summer, week 2, we get to play Golden Guardians. And, there's just one thing about Golden Guardians that's always a little annoying, and that's the top laner, right?
Just look, let's be honest. It's wherever Licorice is. It's got nothing to do with the team he's on. It's just wherever that dude is. They must have texted each other before the game to say, are you ready for this?
Right.
And the response was yes. And then we saw what happened. It was 3 subsequent 1v1s in the top lane.
I love that. We had a best of 3. They say you don't get best of 3s for LCS. We got ourselves a best of 3.
Yeah. And it was as good as advertised. Here's another trend, Cole. I'm attributing this to the durability update. I have no idea. It's got probably less than 1% to do with why this happened. But dang it, if it wasn't fun, and I'm gonna put some love on the durability update for this one. Who knows?
Who knows?
You can't prove it wasn't the durability update. Is that what they're calling it still? The
durability patch.
Patch. Okay.
Yeah. And that will come up, I think, several times tonight.
Yeah.
The funny part about that is we don't fully get it.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think anybody does.
But we're going to go with the branding because Riot can brand pretty well. So we're going to run with the durability patch and what that implies when we're talking about it. But yeah, so we had a lot of fighting up there in the top lane. And not going to lie, I didn't get to take my like live notes that I always take or that I reference during pod. But I will say I remember very keenly at that first 1v1 being like,
yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about right. Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
that's what's going to happen this game. So the clap pack from Someday, being that, Someday lost the first 1v1, the clap pack was very quick. It was like, within a couple minutes,
Yeah.
he turned around and finished off that other one. And
I think he had flash advantage. So he's like, well, what else would I do here?
Yeah. I'm glad it happened so quick, or else who knows what would have happened. Yeah. We are doing this thing, which I guess I'm just spoilering and jumping ahead or whatever. But we're on the topic. We're just doing this thing where our early game is a little bit anemic.
Oh yeah.
And so if this goes wrong, if Someday like doesn't get that kill back, doesn't get the second kill on the third 1v1, it might get a little wonky for us.
Yeah. But Cole, you're a Rocket League player. That's a calculated in the quick chat, right? I have full confidence that Someday knew. He goes for that one, knowing if he gets me this time, I'm going to hold my flash. We're going to see. We're going to get him back the next time. It's just the natural way of things. I mean, Someday is still playing like the Someday of old, and by old I mean last split, and by last split I mean the end of last split. And by the end of last split he means like just a couple weeks in a row. Right.
No, we're just kidding. We love him.
He's no. I was thinking of, I forgot about spring, as I do sometimes. I was thinking about the end of summer when we won the whole dang thing.
Yeah.
So
that was fun.
I mean, Someday to me still he is still taking on anybody. He took on Fudge. Let's get ahead of ourselves. He's taking on Licorice. He's not afraid. He's Someday. He is still playing like the guy that we all know and love. And yeah, so when he goes, to come back to your point, when he goes for this early 1v1, I honestly don't feel super nervous about it, just because I have confidence. Even if he gets bopped twice, I think he can just turn on safe mode and then not really give more, right?
Yeah.
And unlike some lanes where I would not have that same level of comfort or confidence.
I don't want to undersell the guy because, he has successfully booted the reigning best top laner NA out of the league twice.
Yeah.
Right? So Summit no longer in NA after he was dismantled. Alfari no longer in NA, right?
Yeah. There's a theme here.
Yeah.
He beat Summit so badly that the LPL signed him. Am I right on that? I'm not sure there's a
don't give more info. It kind of like makes our case look worse, and we don't want that on this show.
No. I think that's the point. Summit is still so good that he was picked up as an import.
I like that. But not good
LPL.
enough. But not good enough for
exactly.
NA.
FTX. That's right. Thanks, chat. I knew I saw that on Twitter. That's a pretty big move.
It is.
I'm not sure where FTX is in the standings, but it doesn't happen too often. So Someday doing Someday things, as always.
Yeah. And on the Ornn, it's like, okay, we know this, we've experienced this before.
Yeah.
Kind of wanting to see a little more variety, though he did take Fiora in week 1, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Honestly, I don't remember.
We got ourselves a Fiora, I'm pretty sure, in week 1.
Since we didn't have a show, I was a lazy fan.
I did not record it. I just in
didn't
one
hit my
eye,
DVR.
out one mouth, or wherever it goes out.
Yeah. At some point, somebody's gonna break the meme that Ornn is a bad and lazy champion to play. Like Ornn Duty, they're gonna have to stop saying that, because he was getting so many kills, and he won the best of 3 in the top lane.
Yeah, it's like you get to be blessed with Ornn Duty.
Right. I mean, or if you're against Someday, you'd better watch out, because you're on counter Ornn Duty. Can can you not lose to Sunday's Orn? Most can't not lose. In fact,
You're a master of phrasing there. Um, yeah, I think that part of what we're doing checks out. Again, still like a little concerning to see us go down early to
yeah,
Golden Guardians. Look, I don't think anyone's like looking at the roster and be like, yeah, this should be a threatening, team that we have to deal with.
right.
You're basically looking at like a bunch of older guys, older players, that have been around for a really long time and, maybe haven't achieved as much as they could have. Even though they all like, well, some of them have had like good like little bumps, like good peaks or whatever. But it's just like the roster shouldn't be that scary for us. And yet we're just going down early. It's like I'm not sure what's going on. It's basically every game this split.
Well,
So
we have some ideas. On
yeah, that's right. Yeah, like put the little highlight that on your page.
Yeah,
And
I will just say really quickly, Golden Guardians is in 5th place.
Standings mean nothing.
They are squarely in the middle of the table, one game behind us.
Stop it. Standings mean nothing right now.
I mean, you say that, but it is, if you look at the standings, you got Immortals and Dignitas at the bottom.
5 games.
You got TL and EG at the top, plus Counterlogic Gaming.
Yeah, right? Yeah, okay.
It's
very representative of what the
yeah,
world's
and I actually do love it too.
team
it's
is
like,
going to look
at this
like.
point, I don't know what their schedule is overall. This is not the Golden Guardians pod. Well, FlyQuest, it is the Golden Guardians pod now. C9, CLG. This is a pretty good website I found. Anyway, your point, Cole, is accepted, and I will allow us to move on from Golden Guardians. At least that point related.
Yeah. Pride Stalker has been kind of the X factor for them. I feel like we saw like Pride Stalker Nocturne games where he would really get going. Golden Guardians had a habit of throwing away big leads and stuff last split, but fortunately, despite going down a bit, we were able to keep that reined in to a good extent. Maybe it's because he was on Volibear, the useless champion. More on that later.
Such a sad champ.
But we did get to see, I think like a lot of the attention right now is on Abadaga, right?
Yeah.
And though, again, we're going to have a more general discussion of him because that's been such a hot topic for Under Thieves fans, we should not overlook how he did in this game, which was, pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, very effective, seemed like. The Corky Azir, like, do you remember when like last year, or last split, the casters would talk about like, oh yeah, Corky is here. Well, I'm sorry, it's just that matchup or whatever. It is boring, isn't
it? Yeah. Confirmed, it is.
It is boring. I was watching this 2 times in a row, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a shame. You can't fix that with the durability patch. It turns out.
Did he have good moments for you that you wanted to highlight? Because I felt like, solid game, and it is against a Blaze Olive, so that's a caveat, I guess, depending on how warm you are on him. But
yeah,
I don't know. Looked pretty good.
I had a couple thoughts. I made a note. I made a funny, which is that my note is a Blazier. That's maybe his new nickname, but his Azir, I got to tell you, he may have been playing on ping, and no one caught it. Like the manufacturing thing they did at MSI.
they forgot to turn it off just for him.
Just
he was the guy that tested it out for them before, and they forgot to turn it off on his account.
He does have 35 ping, and then they're like, actually, it's 98. Sorry, we're so sorry about that. Boy, if his shuffles weren't just a half beat off, I'll tell you that. So I think a little bit, like, this was not a highlight reel game for him. All joking aside, it just wasn't effective so far as like that piece of the kit is so important in team fights, especially. And it might just be that our guys, we had the tools needed to kind of evade it, or he was a half step behind, whatever
It's
it
just
was.
because Abadaga is better. He's
Or it could be that. But that I think was an important variable in the mid lane equation in this game. Um, Here's something I noticed on watching this bat. A lot of this game felt like 100 T minus Abadaga. Uh, he was on. he was, and that's not because he wasn't like involved or active in the team fights. He just was literally somewhere else. And that's look, I'm familiar with the idea of a split push and getting him some time on a turret to collect the gold, etc. But so many of these fights, when I went back to watch, it was literally 4v5, and we did, we did a good job, especially when you consider it 4v5. So it's a little bit hard to, I guess, evaluate the effectiveness of a player when they're just not even there. And in some ways, it feels like not even there by design. I don't know strategically if that's what you'd say. Like, I think usually it's like, hey, we'll do the 4v5 thing and just kind of buy you time, and then. But it seems like we just went for it. We fought him, and I think part of that was closer on Lee Sin. I think he has an extra button on the keyboard, which is get kills, because he was racking them up.
His kicks always seem to find a second knockup target, like in the team fights, like every time,
Yeah. He's
cheating.
And this is another piece of foreshadowing. He's good at Lee Sin, and that is a fun champion to watch him play. Unlike some others, I'll leave it at that for right now. I'll leave it at that. But anyway, so yeah, for a lot of these moments. And then there were a couple moments like he did just hard int in one fight. He valked forward, which unless you got the package, that's a one-way ticket on Corki. He went in and just immediately got popped by a couple of their carries. And then to reflect the duality of the situation.
Yes, thank you.
He soloed their entire backline when it was time to fight the Elder.
That's right. I was gonna say, look what happens when he joins the fight and he's fighting with his brain.
It's kind of a weird game, and I think he had a similar game on Ari, if I'm not mistaken, where it was like early on, a little shaky, and then he kind of like he hit a key charm. That's starting to feel a little bit like the identity of Abadaga for us.
Maybe he's
not the most reliable laner, not the most reliable kind of consistent team fighting contributor, but boy, if he doesn't know how to find a win in a key moment.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe what he's doing, maybe he's like the perpetually late to work guy, and he's got his friend covering for him at the desk. So Jimmy N is like playing until he like runs up and like taps his shoulder and gets him out of the seat.
That's right. And I don't know, I guess to complete this, Jimmy N is playing remotely on ping as well.
Yeah, so it's even worse.
Yeah, right.
He virtually taps him on the shoulder and says,
right. The ref is always wondering why he's, hitting Amazon deals during the first 15 minutes of the game, reading news stories. But hey, he's not cheating, technically.
I think we're being a little hard on the Daga. All right. But look.
Yeah.
That's a teaser. Okay.
I offer that. That's my perception. It's just, I feel like right now there are moments where he's not there, and there are moments where he wins us the game. And that's a really hard one to try to make sense of in a lot of the situations, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, the function of the discussion of each game is just for us to say a million times we're going to talk about something more generally later. So
yeah, we've checked that box.
So yeah, that's coming with Abadaga. I just wanted to say that we're being a little hard on him.
Yeah.
And we can parse that later. Anything else from GG, though?
The only thing I'd say is we did try to throw it back to them at the end. We overstated the
nexus. That was a little unfortunate.
Yeah, and there are games where you do that, and then the game ends and you lose. That's
objective bounties are a thing, and we saw they grabbed 2 towers at the same time with objective bounties on them, and it was like all of a sudden like our gold lead was literally gone, and I was like, yep, well,
here it goes.
Because that makes sense. It definitely makes sense that you get the shutdown of a couple enemy champions, you take a couple objective bounty turrets, and suddenly you gain 40,000 gold.
Right. Yeah. That feels right. It's just like
that That's right.
In traditional sports, how if you're behind, you get extra points when you score toward the end of the game. You know?
That's right.
Yeah, catch up mode. That's one of our favorites. Look, this is an aside, and we won't have a chance to talk about this in the C9 game, so I want to make sure we get it now, which is to say that the CLG EG game was a certified banger, and I'll be darned.
Watch it yet.
Okay, watch it.
Gotcha.
I won't even spoil it for you here. Listen to how I'll phrase this. There was a team collecting objective bounties, went ahead on gold.
That happened. EG did that to us last split. Do you remember this?
Yes, and look, I'm not going to tell you which team was the benefactor here of this insane mechanic that is truly one of the craziest things.
What are we doing?
Even ever conceived of in a competitive environment. But here we are. Here we are.
Ryan, what are we doing?
It's truly incomprehensible how they don't. The casters even call it out. They say they're like, "Whoa, they're ahead on gold," but surprisingly, objective bounty still on. It's like, who is surprised here? Or,
Yeah.
have we given over the development of this game to an AI that has locked us out? And like they're making decisions outside the realm of human intervention. We can't influence the machine.
This is the early stages of Skynet.
And I
They
guess
sabotage our esports.
I'll add, if this is the most malevolent that Skynet gets, I'm okay with that. But it does feel pretty nefarious.
I'm not. Shut it off.
It's just so at least it wasn't us. Maybe that's the silver lining. It wasn't us this week, but man, I don't know who has got the compromise on the person who's decided to keep that going. I can't figure it out.
Well, that being said, let's talk about Cloud9.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about my caster curse, shall we?
Please.
Were you aware of this? Were you watching live?
I did catch it live.
Okay.
I was maybe a few minutes behind, but I caught up. Yeah.
So I have on my Twitter and I'm like, hey, get a rare chance to watch a 100 Thieves LCS game live, so I'm going to live tweet and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then, like, the first thing they show is that guy that's like, I flew here from NYC to see Cloud9 2-0.
Yeah.
And so I just having a little fun. That's
Yeah.
all I was doing. Just enjoying myself in the moment since I had a unique opportunity. So I just type out tappity, tappity, tap, tap. Poor guy with the sign's going to go home unhappy. Tappity, tappity, tap. And, of course, the good folks on the Riot broadcast team put my tweet up there. Now, it was all like, I didn't word it in any mean way at all. Whatever. It was just a bit of friendly banter, but they reacted really strongly to that tweet. Did you hear them?
Yeah, the
like,
crowd was like,
whoa, look at that. I did not get the crowd reaction that I thought that would get.
Yeah.
I thought it was, just a ha ha ha, fun times.
It's so good.
And I knew as soon as the casters reacted to that, I was like, yeah, we just lost this game. And then right after that, or maybe right before, it was right around the same time, we draft Tom Kinch.
Yeah. Well, I think right around, it must have been right around when they tweeted it, because they showed it after, like, they loaded into the rip.
Yeah, that's right. So if you look at my Twitter timestamps,
timestamped it.
That's right. Thank you for bringing this up. It's like less than a minute later, I tweet, never mind, we picked Tom Kinch in volume.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, never mind, we're going to lose.
Yeah, like that. He is going home happy, and I'm happy for him. Yep.
Yeah. So, sorry. I guess with Tim not around to curse everybody, I have to take up that mantle for us. It was definitely my curse. But kudos to the broadcast team for finding my tweet towards the end of the game with the Under the Giant. No.
Oh,
I was so proud they put that up. Yeah, they put up. I tweeted the the Andre the Giant thing, and they put that up as well. So
I missed that. Was it during the game?
It was like right after it, I think.
Okay.
I love that the broadcast team did that.
Yeah.
It made it fun for me.
Cool.
But I am sad that I cursed us. So, but let's get back to the moment of realization that we were indeed would lose, and that was during the draft.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, look,
correct.
You're with me, right? As soon as we lock in Tom Kinch, it's like, oh my gosh, we're like 80% likely going to win this or lose this game.
Yeah.
And then when we followed up with Volibear, it's like, all right, now we are definitely going to lose.
Yeah.
I know someone provided me the win rates. I think it was BC. Like, put the win rates in the spoiler zone channel in our Discord. And they were not as bad as you might think, and not as bad as I'm making them out to be. But
Yeah.
you just know. And it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Because it's like, look, what is Volibear? Like, how does Volibear win? Man, you go really aggressive in the jungle early and you get yourself some kills and get going. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
closer? Yeah, closer does that, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's roll. And it's like, what does Tom Kench do? Absorbs a lot of damage, can find some really creative engages, save the ADC.
Yeah.
Man, that sounds like something who he can do for FBI. Yeah. This should be good. But, dude, we are cursed. Those champ picks are cursed for us.
The things that should work for us don't.
I need to check the wins that we get. I need to check against what opponents those come because I just knew that we were going to lose those games to the champs. Right? That was not me being, just pessimistic. I legit knew we were going to lose.
Yeah, it's I mean, look, I've got the stats. We can dig into them more if we want.
Go ahead, man.
The thing that for me feels so counter is, and Flower said this. It was a wonderful line. He said, if jungle champions were spices, Volibear would be flour, right? Or like
I missed that.
It's a great, but it's so true. It's like it's baby's first champion. You press this button to run faster, and then this one swipes with claws. Versus Lee Sin, it's just the opportunity I think for skill expression there is so small. It's so small, and I just kind of feel like it doesn't take that much for an enemy team to essentially eliminate your ability to do what the champion needs to do, which is like, hey, try not to get run down by this giant bear in the jungle in the first 10 minutes of the game, and if you don't, you're probably fine. He'll probably be fine. He'll get one kill or two here or there, but then we'll get to the team fight phase, and he's just a melee minion basically. So I think for me that's the biggest trade-off with Volley specifically. Like, we don't need to turn off the turrets. He effectively ganks under turrets every game with the champions that we play. It's like that. I'm not getting super excited about that. I don't think that shores up a glaring weakness in his game. It's not like he's constantly failing ganks, and
we get the barrage of disengaging ults, right?
Yeah. Jumping away pretty slowly and unstoppably, and just so you can die when you land. It's very cool. It's very cool.
Lay some stats on us, man. I want to hear.
All right, so yeah, you're right. Like, the win rates are not as bad as you would think. I going into this, I sort of expected. I pulled stats for Volley, TK, and Senna.
Is this general stats or stats us on those champs?
Us, just these specific players. So, and it's since the start of summer, so basically a full year, right? Summer and spring, because that's, I feel like, the most representative of this current lineup. So Volley, 60% win rate, 5 games played. He picks it blind a lot, which I think is interesting. 80% of the time it's picked blind, so 4 out of the 5 games. I mean, maybe it has something to do with us feeling like it's a safer blind pick. I don't worry about closer playing anything into anyone, to be honest with you. So I don't see that that's like an important. I guess that's a good point.
Except the one champ, I'm like,
yeah. I think there's one champ that he has like worse numbers on, and it's Udyr, and he's played it one time in that window. I have no idea when he played that. It may be a champion's queue snuck in there or something. He's like upper third on kill percentage, middle third, or I guess middle third on death percentage. He's the worst in goal difference at 10 of any of the champs he's played 2 times or more. He's in the bottom on XP difference at 10. So like, these are the stats that you would expect. This is the champ that gets ahead early and then watch out. It's like, no, he doesn't though. So that hypothesis isn't holding. Worst CS per minute, bottom in damage per minute, worst in damage percent of the team. And for closer, we need that. And keep in mind, this is supposed to be a champ. He's not doing a lot of fancy kicks. There's no kick in Volibear. See, there's a swipe and a stun,
And an
but
auto attack.
there's no like utility other than turning off the turret, right? You don't count that stat. There's an auto attack. So yeah, like I can't imagine that that's where you want your damage share to be, is the worst of any of the champions you play at the position. And then he's in the bottom third on gold percentage. So yeah, I think your reaction is appropriate. I would say this feels like one of those champs that just isn't doing what it's supposed to do for us. And yeah, I guess the other thing I'd say is the 3 wins we have, the 60% win rate, I have to attribute it to the fact that we're a good team that wins a lot of games, right?
Yeah.
Where Someday can carry, where FBI carries, where Abadaga occasionally has carried as well. So,
Well, it doesn't sound good.
yeah.
And beyond that, I mean, like, we just didn't do what you're supposed to do with a Volibear pick.
Right.
So, like, you can't AFK farm when you're picking Volibear. Now, someone in chat, my setup doesn't. It's whatever. I forget who said it in chat, and I can't see it right now. They said that he had no lanes to play to. Kind of true. Okay, so can we grant him that grace at the moment? And say, yeah, he kind of didn't really have anywhere to go with it. It felt like.
Yeah.
So that's kind of true, but then why do I get that feeling before the game even starts? I like this team. I root for this team, and I think we're a good team. So I got that feeling, though. This just sucks.
You got the feeling that this is.
I just knew we were gonna lose.
Oh yeah.
And the Tom Kench just made it worse.
Yeah. Yep. Stats wise, an even easier observation here.
Yeah, run us through those real quick, and then we can talk about it.
25% win rate. So that's honestly that's way below
for
our
last
baseline.
year of 100 Thieves. That's wild.
Yeah, we won the LCS, and we only played it 4 times. Doesn't pick it blind. 1 time was blind, so we usually know what we're picking it into. He's got a 0.9 KD on it. That's the worst of any. Worst KP. Upper third in death percent, bottom in gold diff, XP diff. Stats are weird for support players. It's whatever. And then this is fun. Upper in gold.
Let's ask Cloud9 what his CSD is.
Well, yeah, I didn't write that one down because I guess
we don't subscribe to Microsoft, so we don't know what support CS is.
I'll tell you, Cole, it's the best because he's actively farming on this channel. Mm-hmm. So here's the other thing about TK that you might not have appreciated that I think is actually a huge problem. He's taking up a lot of the team's gold percentage. He's in the upper percent of total gold share. So it's like
let's let it go. It's fasting Senna. Let's let it go.
But we're pouring gold into him, and what are we getting out of it? Like a below 1 KDA. That's so not only does it not fit the play style, I think it just doesn't work from a lot of angles. And look, I know there's always a case to be made for every champion. That's why these champions are in the game still. I guess some of them there is no case to be made, and that's why you haven't seen them in competitive play in like a decade. But yeah, I understand why TK is good and why people pick him. I don't think he fits our team, and I think we should stop picking him.
Yeah, I just don't like it. And every team that plays it against us, it seems like they're good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to make of that.
I really don't
sometimes champs just aren't your champs. You know what I mean? There's like I don't play Twitch. Okay, Twitch is just not my champ.
Yeah,
I'll play Misfortune, but I won't play Twitch, and that's just how it is. And maybe that's how it is for Hui. I don't know, but it didn't work, and you don't get a lot of those. Like, so look, just picture us playing against a Tom Kench.
Yeah.
Okay, there are 2 things that come to mind very like prominently. I don't mean like a specific instance, but like 2 common things that happen a lot with Tom Kench. What are they? When we're playing against them.
We get hit with the knockup.
Yep, the surprise knockup somehow gets 2 or 3 of us every time. Or
uh, or they devour one of us, and then we lose our carry.
Dang, our brain sync isn't as good as I was
Oh
hoping it was.
no! Oh,
My pick for the other thing, which is subjective, is just us having fun. As we're dear friends, aren't we? Us dumping everything we have
oh,
to
that's right.
kill the
That's right.
Tom Kench, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
gets away
yeah,
every time. Every time. All right. So, and you know what? We don't get that when we play it. We don't
no,
really have. Now, Huki did get a double knockup, I think, in this game.
there you go.
So
Look at
there's like this one moment, but I'm pretty sure we still lost the fight, and we obviously still lost the game. So I don't know. We just don't play it the way that the other teams play it that seem to have better success. Now you have Senna on here.
yeah.
Now this might be interesting because I think we might disagree on this. Let me hear your piece on Senna.
Yeah. I mean, stats are pretty good. 4 games played, 75% win rate. Half the time it's blind. In FBI's upper third KDA at 8.2. It's very good. It's the top kill participation of any of his champs. Bottom third in death percent. It's like these are good numbers, right? To have bottom but here's where it gets interesting. I think this is probably where you're reacting. Bottom in damage per minute, bottom third in damage share of the team, and last in gold share. Obviously, it's Fasting Senna. So it is a really interesting set of stats, because while he is pretty safe with it and doesn't die a lot, he's doing a lot less damage than he usually is.
Well,
And I think in this game specifically, it was like, well, who's doing your damage then? Is it Azir? Because it doesn't seem likely. We know it's not Tom Kench. It certainly isn't Volibear, because he's bottom damage per minute too of all his champs. So that leaves Someday. And, I guess if that's what you want to put all your chips on, there are worse bets you could make, but it's asking a lot, I would say.
well, I mean, like, look, Senna's not gonna do damage until late. You need that extra range and the extra damage boost. You need all, excuse me, you need all the souls. So I'm not surprised by the stats. I'm also not surprised by the win rate, because I don't fully get it, because I don't think FBI plays it particularly well, but the pick seems to work for us when we see it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm never mad at the Senna. And maybe I should be, but I'm not. Like, I'm kind of cool with it. And people put a lot of like attention on that pick in the draft.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's because it's like, well, does what we drafted fit into like playing with like a Senna and everything? And it's arguable that it doesn't.
Yep.
But I that pick doesn't bother me. I don't know. It's not what I'm clamoring for when I sit down with my chips to watch the game. I'm not hoping we pick Senna, but
Yeah.
I think I'm fine with FBI's Senna.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
there are bigger issues than the Senna pick. First of all, we got two champs that are more contentious on the same draft, and we got things like full engaging onto a fight while some days just vibing on a recall.
yeah. Yeah. Probably
Look,
not standard strategy.
We were fine in that game. We were down like between 2,000 and 3,000 gold for like a while, but we were fine. We were gonna ride it out, and we were getting stronger. You've got Azir who comes on way late. You got Senna who comes on way late. We're just like kind of hanging out. We just need to keep the game reasonably close. And I don't know what happened. He just completed the recall, and the rest of the team took the 4v5. To be fair, I think it was a 4v4. I think, was it Fudge that TP'd in also?
Yeah.
Someone TP'd in also. But,
Yeah.
they all end from behind when we needed Someday as a part of that. Obviously, the Gwen, we needed the Gwen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the thing. And we I don't know. Can't explain it. Maybe someone will have a reason for that happening. That comes out later this week. I don't know. It was a bad one.
Did he have an item he needed to complete? That's the only thing I can think of. And he was like,
well,
I'll
even
go back.
if he does, it's like if the fight happens, like, well, gotta go fight. Gotta go fight. Remember, he TP'd in. Didn't he die after the TP too?
Yeah.
So it's like,
everybody
well,
died.
you're gonna die anyway. You might.
Maybe there's a different fight. I know there's one fight where everybody died except FBI.
Yeah, I thought FBI survived it actually, but yeah, it's like, and that was the game. That was the whole game.
Yeah.
This is the whole game. From there, it became nearly impossible to recover, and then we had one more encounter that didn't go our way, so it became impossible.
Yeah. And I think that encounter was that the one where Avi gets caught at the start of the fight?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts. Now, if you watch that replay, there's like this little sliver of fog of war over that wall.
Oh yeah.
And it just so happened that Blabber was right in there.
It was hiding one whole Gragas.
It's like so unlikely with the timing that's not spotted out. It's so unlikely. So I'm not totally mad at him, especially because he had the Zonias ready to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, he flat out got caught there, and again, we lose the game. But look, my point is, it ended up feeling and looking really bad, and my tweet probably added fuel to that fire. Sorry, but it really wasn't, right? This is my thing. I always say, it's like, well, it looked really bad, but it kind of wasn't all that bad.
Right.
You know, that's kind of just the natural conclusion of that mistake at that time. Am I being too soft? Am I being too grace having merciful? That's what I want.
Specific to Abadaga?
I need some practice. This is the practice podcast, right?
Yeah.
We're going to go live in about 15 minutes.
We're just reading the script. This is what is it? Table read? That's what this is.
Table read. This is the table read pod.
Oh no, we're live. Are you being too merciful for Abadaga? Is that what you're asking, or just
just in general, the whole game and the whole team?
I mean, yeah, okay. Look, we've played these champs not together, but 4 to 5 times over the last year. We like the idea of them. We experiment with these champions, Volibear, TK, and Senna. You know, every once in a while we're like, you know what sounds good tonight? TK. Let's try that out. Let's try it out. Let's see what happens.
Oh, I got the perfect analogy.
Yeah, okay.
Because you said it this way, it reminded me of the perfect analogy. Okay. So there is a Wendy's by my house.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes away. And it is probably the nation's worst Wendy's. Okay?
Yeah.
It takes like minimum 30 minutes every time you go there. And they're always going to screw up your order. And there's always something wrong with the taste of the food also. Like, it's just every aspect of it is bad.
Yeah.
And so I don't eat Wendy's. I just don't. I mean, look, I don't eat a whole lot of fast food, but on times like vacations like this, right? I find myself on the road with my family, and that little like thing's just eating away at my brain. It's like, but you're not at that Wendy's. Maybe you could try Wendy's here. Right. And it'll be good.
Yeah.
Why don't you just pull off? There's a Wendy's there. They got the $2 kids meals after 4 p.m. or whatever it is.
Perfect.
So just go to Wendy's and give it a shot. It can't be any worse than home. And every time I convince myself of that, it's worse than at home. And the same thing happened. The last time this happens to me, so it'll like be like over a year goes by between me trying the Wendy's, right? The last time this happened to me, I kid you not, we were on the road and I went into the Wendy's and I waited like 10 minutes just to order. And when it was finally my turn, I approached the counter and the person says, my manager said I gotta stop taking orders for a while, and just left.
What?
And I was like, hey, is it gonna be like, like a couple minutes catch up, or is this gonna be like longer? Right. And she was like, I don't know. And so I was like, I'll give it a couple minutes, just to see. Yeah. And you know what happened? A cook stormed out of the back mad and just walked off the job.
Wow.
I had to leave I didn't even get to order at the Wendy's. That's how bad it was.
You couldn't even confirm that the food would be as bad as you had feared it might be.
Right. Like, I didn't even get to order. Right. So it's like, it's just, you just give it a bit of time. You just forget. Your brain just forgets and talks itself into doing things you shouldn't do, like going to Wendy's. Tom Kench is going to Wendy's. All right. If you hear me say we're going to Wendy's, that means we're drafting Tom Kench.
Yeah, you see someone else eating it, and they look like they're having fun. You're like, maybe that could be me. Maybe I could enjoy playing Tom Kench. And then you lock him, and your fans immediately tweet their condolences to themselves. And here we are, you know. Yeah. So I kind of I kind of chalk this up to that. This game, I'll get back to your question. Are you being too merciful? Look, Abadaga was outplayed this game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, he was.
he was by Jensen, and I feel like that's
that hurts.
yeah, it's a particularly tough spot to find ourselves in. And he was he played.
I'm just in the chat. You know how much I've spoken out against Jensen. It's like, no, Jensen's not the pick. And by the way, to set the record fully straight, I did want Jensen back in the day. But it was like last year when people were like, man, we should have gotten Jensen. And I was like, nah, that's not the move, bro. And then he 5-0-6 us on Yon.
Oh, man. Also, Jet calls him Yon, which I like a lot. I like.
Oh, that's
Jet.
the reason I said Yon. I was like, oh, okay, so it's Yon. It's Yon.
Yeah. So
it's Yon. It's not Yone.
The Jet stamp approval for Yon. Now entering the Yon zone, and I wanted to leave the Yon zone. Abadaga didn't want to be there. There's probably no sadder interaction than the E into the shuffle.
And it's just W's away or whatever.
Into no longer being in the E, you know? It's like, oh, that's a rough one. That hurts. So yeah, man, he got bopped on that.
He did. Okay.
But I think the state of alarm overall, like, I don't look at this game and say, oh my gosh, we just lost to C9 and they're,
that's right.
They should never win again.
That's right. All we did is we went to Wendy's. That's all we did.
So I think if we draft differently, the thing that I'm actually most looking at from this game is Abadaga. He just got outclassed in that game. Yeah. There's no other way to say it.
Okay, let's talk Abadaga.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how much more I have to say on him, but I would invite you. I feel like maybe I have to talk a little bit more about it.
Here's the stats for him this split. All right. Very small sample size, okay?
Yeah.
Very small sample size. 20% counter pick rate. Okay, so he only gets counter a fifth of the time, or 1 out of the 5 games we played.
Yep.
He has the most deaths among LCS mid laners. Maybe period in LCS, who knows? Oh, no. 6th in KDA. This is all among mid laners, okay? 6th in KDA, last in gold differential at 10, last in XP differential at 10, by a lot. Last in CS difference by a lot. 7th in damage per minute and 6th in earned gold per minute, which is kind of weird. I don't know how that works out. But anyway, look, the stats are bad. Yeah. The eye test has not been very good in most cases. Like, sometimes it's all right. But on the whole, it's like, it just doesn't look right. But is he also just being a victim of camping, right? They are 3-manning this guy like every game.
That's true.
So, I mean, we talked about being the pressure sponge and not losing too badly. And I think, like, in the past, like, we've talked about that with Someday, right? But I think, like, a lot of it is, when we say that, what we mean is, like, we're happy that someone is not dying too many times and giving away the goal that corresponds with that. But the problem with Abadaga is even like, he hasn't died a whole lot, all things considered. I feel like the way that they gank him and focus him all the time, it's like, it's not that many deaths considering, all the pressure he faces. But he also just gets outlaned. Yeah. So the question
is, let me offer one quick addition to that, which is, when he, in his game against Yon, right, he's blowing cooldowns like they're on sale, right? Like, he is very susceptible to attack. And I think when you're being outlaned and you're having to blow your cooldowns to stay alive, that invites, you have lit the beacon, and the support is going to be there and the jungler is going to be there. Heck, maybe the top laner shows up just to get some assist gold and experience himself, So that is a compounding issue for sure.
Yeah. Well, but just to reiterate what I'm saying, because it looked like chat was, you know, that I am saying like, yeah, the not dying so much thing is really good until you're also like giving away tons of CS. So the gold thing is like a huge problem, and it just comes down to like that old, we used to talk about like, oh, he's getting camped. Well, that means the team is like, hey, if we camp this player, we're gonna win.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we did to Summit, right?
Yeah.
And we neutralized Summit, who was like a great player. So when you camp someone who's, less than a great player at the moment, it's
Yeah.
gonna go really badly.
He was the best player, even. Like
Yeah, right.
he
That's
was
what
the
I'm saying. Yeah,
MVP.
yeah, he's the MVP, right? And
Yeah.
so you can shut down an MVP with a concentrated camping effort.
Yeah. Like
Imagine
that.
what you can do to someone who's less than MVP level. So
Yeah.
I get it. It's like kind of like you camp because it's a weakness.
Right.
If you think this is how we win, then you camp. So I get that. I mean, I said that exact thing in our Discord, but it hasn't looked good. I don't know. I think this is like past trauma from my 100 Thieves fandom, where it's just I'm not at the point where I'm like, yeah, man, this guy just isn't a good mid laner, because
Yeah.
I don't, in my heart of hearts, believe that he's not a good mid laner,
Yeah.
and it hasn't looked good in any angle you take on it. It hasn't looked good. I still want this guy. Is my heart carrying me away? What is going on here? But look, and it's only 5 games. We have a history of kind of like ramping into the split with these guys, doing better as we get into playoffs. The stomp by EG in the finals of last split kind of left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. If you take that out, like say we like barely lost in 5 games and Abdaga played very well the whole time,
Yeah.
I don't think we're thinking about this in the exact same way, because he has a history of ramping up.
Yeah. I almost feel like I wish we had like a war stat, uh, wins above
Wins above
replacement,
replacement, yep.
a la baseball. It's like, we were so close. We almost went back to back, and we're still here being like, is this the right guy for us?
He was the player we changed that in the split that
Right.
we went and won the finals, right?
Right.
All the other guys were the same.
So I feel like the thought experiment that's kind of interesting to me is to say, if we change somebody, like you just said that he's not the best player in the LCS. We know he's not the MVP. He is somewhere on the continuum of best and worst players. And I don't think that it's so hard to imagine that you could find a player that would perform at a higher level than him, at least in the last split. And now split in 2 weeks, right? Let's call it. And I feel like what that tells me is I think we at least got to be asking the question, because finding a player who's better than him, that might have been the difference between us going back to back.
Yeah.
Right. It could be that's the difference. And I feel like that's what the math is going to be until we either win again and he proves us all wrong, that yes, we can still win a championship with him, even with EG Ascendant and CLG.
Hey, wait! You said proves
Clearly.
us all wrong. Be careful about that. I'm defending.
Oh yeah, yeah. But in general, just it doesn't. He's not the thing that's holding us back from. Like, it wasn't because of him that we didn't win the trophy. If we can get it back together. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying at all that we need to urgently replace him. Do whatever we can. But it does seem to me like he's slipping further down the power rankings in mid, and I think that's a concerning thing.
If they just stop camping the poor boy, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But look, let's go to a couple listener takes that were on this topic.
Yeah,
especially because 2 of them were kind of the same thing. And guys, you got to start trimming the fat a little bit on these takes. By the way, sometimes I forget to remind you. Munt says, I could be very off here, but I feel like seeing Abba post pics of him flexing his designer clothes on his socials a lot, adding on to him severely underperforming, puts a sour taste in my mouth that he doesn't care as much or has lost his motivation to really try and be the best. I think this happened with everyone on the team really except someday after we won our first split together. They got very overconfident and then got humbled in early spring. Abba, I feel, still hasn't fully come back to the way he was in summer, both in play and mindset. And on the similar, vein here, Zach Remsburg said, "I've had this feeling ever since we won summer split. Abba seems to really have let the success get the best of him. He's always flexing on social media, always trash talking teams after games where he severely underperforms. I hope he can figure it out, but having a mid laner down 50 CS at 10 minutes every game is not conducive to winning. I love Abba and hope he can turn it around." So the last couple things on Zach's take, you know, having a mid laner down 50 CS at 10 minutes every game is not conducive to winning, for sure. And I love Abba and hope he can turn around, for sure.
Yeah.
But then we have this other thing that both Mont and Zach are saying about like losing focus and like his focus is on like having fun and like looking cool and everything. I can't get on board with this.
Okay.
And I get the urge to, because it's like you can see it can be like off-putting, right?
Yep.
Because of the way that our brains are programmed and how we are, how we look at things, just we tend to root for underdogish people, right? So when you see someone who has gotten success, you expect them to be the Kobe thing, right? Like they're shooting at the gym at 4 a.m.
Right.
You don't expect them to be like distracted by anything or having fun. It's just it's like you gotta think around the programming of your brain, because the fact is, you could even I even might make the argument that is helpful to people in the league scene, because think of how like stressful and grueling a split is. Think of how many times like players burn out,
Right.
If buying a cool Gucci jacket and going out and having fun or whatever like is a way to ease your mind and relax and de-stress and have something else your brain focuses on even for a little bit, that's probably a net positive, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, you don't want to see someone who's not winning celebrating as if they're winning. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I get that. I have that same urge. Like, I can't pretend that I haven't noticed like those kinds of like posts on socials and stuff too, because I have. But I remind myself that that's just kind of the way it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let the guy enjoy life, and it's not, those two things are not causal, right? It's not like
Right.
just because of that he's not doing well anymore. Now it's possible that he lost his focus and he's rusty and his mind isn't where it needs to be. That is possible. So don't get this to mean I'm ruling that out. But I'm just saying we can't assume that that's what's happening. I can't fully support that take, even though I understand where you're coming from.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, look, we've all seen this play out. Like, fortune gets to people and it changes the way they think about things. So we know that can happen.
Yeah.
I think the tricky thing is, I feel like it's so hard to. He could be first in, last out. Still, we just don't know. I mean, I think the thing that's there for sure is that he is not performing. I would say even at the level that he was when he first came, which is like the kind of confusing thing. And it could be that just the quality of the competition is increasing. Like, that's possible. We've got some pretty good mid laners going right now.
Yeah. And let's not forget, the dude won us a championship.
Yeah. Like, he was up
Flat
against
out.
Perks at that time, so it's not to say that the competition was light ever,
Yeah.
but Jensen is playing really well. Like, he's looking very capable still. He clearly hasn't lost a step. So I guess to the take, I would say, I would put it more to, I don't know. I think I like what you said, which is like, it's hard to say that it's causal. And look, like, let's not forget, the Gucci stuff is part of the job. Like, he was,
That's true.
the organization is all about that. So
we're directly tied to Gucci.
Yeah. So him flexing the
in
Gucci
particular. Yeah.
is kind of just part of the identity of the organization, that's
Yeah. And look, here's a counter perspective too from Glenn E. Taylor, who says, without piling on Abadaga, how much of the mid lane gap now are team issues, drafts, rotations, planning, taking the wrong fights, etc., versus underperformance?
yeah,
And that also can play in. I don't think we've played enough games to really feel convinced of a take here, but
yeah,
clearly the team it's not like the only problem we're having is that the mid lane isn't playing as well as we want.
for sure, for sure.
We know that much, right? We know that there are some other things, and those tend to impact the mid lane probably more than any other lane.
Yeah, and again, kind of going back to the Cloud9 game, they did the nifty tri lane matchup thing, and I think that's the game where all three lanes were being shoved, or
Yeah, yes. We had
so
nothing going, yeah.
yeah, like your Senna TK lane is not going to be under the enemy turret. So like with lane priority in every lane, you can see how they show up literally with 4 people on one of his deaths, and it's like there isn't. You don't have enough buttons on your keyboard to survive that. Even the only way you can is if you play under your tier 2 turret while your tier 1 is still up. Like it's just not. You're not going to get out of that alive. So those kind of like that's a product of, to Glenn's point, the overall situation on the map, and he just so happened to be the person who was available, and mid is the center of the map, and it's the shortest trip if you want to make sure you get a kill for a couple people who can roam.
Yeah. So let's say this then. Let's end the Abadaga conversation for now by saying, yeah, we're going to be watching that. Okay?
Yep.
I'll reiterate the position that I've had for a long time with him is that I think no matter what, we ride out this split with him.
Yeah, for sure.
And if it doesn't go well, then yeah, let's reconsider. Let's look at the options.
Yeah.
But man, we started slow last split also, and we made it to the finals.
Yeah. Is anybody calling for us to replace him now?
Yes.
Okay.
That Twitter, that is Reddit. Yes.
That's troubling to me. And I'll just ask this question, and I don't know the answer because I don't think there's a good one. Who would you get in the middle of summer split to replace and improve any position on any team when every team is in the middle of the sprint to make it to Worlds? Do you intend to sign a free agent?
Ryome is available.
Oh gosh, don't say that.
I love Tommy. I love him.
Or like a promotion. Promotion is basically the only option. So yeah, now is not the time. You want to splash cash to get somebody now, and you're never going to convince me you have a better chance of reforming as a team. And if we were to do this, I would very happily eat my hat. It's just like the odds on that are so long that you find somebody available in the middle of summer, and then you sign them, and then you get good enough to actually make top 3. Feels like a real long shot.
It does. So that's where we are right now. We're just going to ride this out. Yeah, and like even chat says, Kobe mentioned on the dive, he heard whispers about Abba, which fueled it a bit, probably sure. Knox says you'd have to offer a trade, and I think, in my opinion, you'd have to trade closer someday to replace one of Abba, FBR, Huhi, and I would ask, when's the last time a trade happened in the LCS?
Yeah, right.
They don't happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's just not going to happen. We're just going to ride out with Abadaga, and you know what? Good.
Yeah.
He won us 1 championship. We committed to him for another year. Let's roll.
Yeah.
Hey,
Jackson. Yep.
Oh, Jackson's here? Hey, Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay. What about, do you want to talk about the meta really quick?
Yeah.
Like how you think the meta is affecting us and stuff? Because this is just like, this is about to be like the least informed I've ever been when giving a take. So, and that's saying something. But it seems like to my uninformed eye.
Mhm.
Uh, this is like the combination of the durability patch and the meta. It seems like this is really not suited for us, like to do well. There's just enough survivability for everything that we can't execute on our early plays.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of the champions that we would ideally take are kind of weak right now. I feel like we just have to wait. I feel like the meta is such that we're just gonna be a little rocky, and we have to kind of hope for a patch to happen. It is like the worst possible like thing you want to say right now, but it just kind of feels true.
Yeah.
Am I cuckoo? Like,
I don't know. Look, I'll just give you my feelings on the durability patch. I like what it's done. I feel like you get more interesting moments and games. Uh, so in general, I'm in favor. I think the other thing it does is it opens up some areas of the meta that haven't been open before or as much. Um, and I think the like CLG is an interesting case study. Who the heck knows what's going on there?
they're just riding 100T talent scouting coattails.
And boy, is it working out for them. Um, so I don't think this meta is any more or less favorable just in general. Like,
Really?
it's not like we were an assassin team and assassins are no longer viable and oops, there goes our game plan. Like there's still
But
a lot of
we
things.
are an aggression team, right? At least
Yeah.
we're supposed to be. I know we don't always play like it, but we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Supposed to be an impression. Like, who was it? Was it Azale I was talking about in the cast? He's like, when I think about 100 Thieves, I think about all these turret dives, the early plays, the skirmishes, or whatever. And it's like when you survive those so often,
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I will.
you'll
Yeah.
get those
I'll
advantages.
grant you
Maybe
that.
that's part of the reason why we're down every game early on.
Yeah.
And we just got to wait and out hands everybody later on. It's not a great recipe right now for winning.
Yeah. At the same time, I mean, we're also good at team fights. So, like, look, we're 3-2. It's not like we've lost every game. We're coming out worse than we ever
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
So I think there's still enough things that are to our advantage that we like. It's not like we haven't come out as like, oh my gosh, 100 Thieves has had to completely reinvent themselves because the meta is so wacky, and it's going to take them some time. Like we're still picking Ornn, we're still playing Lee Sin, we've still got
True.
the we haven't seen Aphelios much. He must have gotten
Well,
hardened.
it's like think about like it's similar to like Viego, right? Like Viego was nerfed last split,
Mhm.
and we were still like, yeah, because closer Viego, like yeah, we're still gonna win with it. And
I mean, he's still getting picked up. Wasn't contracts on him?
it
Is that
it
one
didn't work. It didn't work.
for us when we played him?
Yeah, it just kind of like,
Yeah.
just kind of stalled.
Yeah. I think your point is a good one, and it's kind of like the same as when we did the TP change, right? Like that actually had a huge,
Yes,
I would say, a
true.
huge impact on our early game plan. And I think this is probably a comparable level of difference that we're going to have to figure out. Um, I think we will.
Jobless. I hope we do. Let's round out the listener takes and then do predictions and get on out of here.
All right.
BC said, only one note from me. We really look flat sometimes compared to some games where we look loose and willing to fight anything, which is fine. And hopefully we're just knocking rust off right now. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the split. So it's like two kind of two modes, right?
Yeah.
One is like, we got this, we're fine. And the other is very tense and reserved, right? And I kind of agree with this. And I think it depends on who we're playing that day. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, we're
Right.
going to be tense and scared against the C9 and Team Liquid, EG, maybe CLG. I don't think we'll be scared of them. I think we know them too well. But, you know what I mean? It's like, it just feels like there's more to this take than there should be when we're talking about professional esports with players with experience. But
Yeah.
it's kind of true, yeah?
I mean, at the same time, we broke the Dignitas curse. We finally beat them. So That's usually a team we have
Yeah, final boss Dignitas.
final boss Dignitas. Um, yeah. Look, I mean, here's the other thing. Like Cloud9, did you were you prepped for what they were going to bring because they only practiced for a few days?
That's a really good point. That's a point we should have made earlier.
Yeah, harder to prepare for Zen support because he's only got there's not a lot of tape there. I'm sure
Jack was like they had 4 scrims or something.
yeah. So obviously that can cut both ways.
Hey, and at least we can celebrate Sven being back on the most punchable NA list. All right.
You're
Yeah, he's no going straight up there. Yeah, he's going straight up there.
The most prestigious of all awards.
The most prestigious of the 100 Talk Awards.
Most punchable NA.
Most punchable NA.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like my hope is that eventually we get back to the place where, the game is different. It's in a different place. Things just feel different. Like you talked. I feel like you talk about this a lot. Just game feel and like, how much of this comes down to instinct. Durability patch changes a lot of that. So I think it's normal to expect that it's going to take some time for us to kind of recalibrate things. Yeah. Some of I mean, look, and not all the stuff that we saw is can you put to that for sure. Yes. Right. But just like there were a lot of fights against United. I didn't bring this point up where we got completely wiped in a fight. I think there was one fight around 20. It was like 25 minutes into the game. We got we lost the fight 4-0. Got left with no kills. FBI kind of limped away, and then tried to do his most valiant Baron defense effort. He gave it a shot. Nobody on C9 had more than 1/3 of the health bar, right?
Yeah.
That is close. That's very close. I don't know how Berserker played Zeri to be a tank, but he just wouldn't die. He just never died. I think he played it really well, so that's probably got something to do with it.
Jordan, perhaps this team is very adept at using their health bar as a resource. You know what I mean?
I think it's safe to say, Cole, and I would have said it during the game had they given us the microphone. But yeah, they just there were a lot of it felt like there were a lot of those fights, and I think sometimes that for me that feels like okay, a guy limps away with 2 HP. One, it's luck. 2, if we had that much of a better sense for how these fights go, we could have probably got a couple kills, right? So
yeah, fair enough. Sen had a very interesting question. Perhaps we can't. Perhaps all we should do is pose this question and then,
okay,
because it's a weird one, but it's just interesting, right? He said, "This is the second time we have seen." This is tough. All right. This is the second time we have seen no improvement after the T1 boot camps. What is the point of these boot camps if it is not helping the team? Now, no improvement is a very strong judgment to make.
It is.
Because we don't know where the team was when they started the boot camp. Mm-hmm. We also, if with the meta not being settled necessarily, you don't know exactly what you're prepping. So, and PapaSmithy was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he has anything to say about this, but the boot camps, like I'm guessing a lot of it is like kind of theory crafting, but most of it is like let's just work on our team communication and strategy execution. Let's work on our macro and stuff like that, right? And that's a big, huge part of the puzzle that needs to be worked on. It needs practice. The other piece of it, you may not be able to really practice all that much effectively because it might just go out the window as soon as you come back to NA.
Yeah.
So no improvement is a strong way to word it. Though obviously we want to look better after boot camp than we were before, but it's just hard to judge where everything's at when that happens. But the question is in and of itself very interesting. It's like, look, a lot of the explanation that was given by the team that we kind of came to accept last year was that early on in the split it was a little rough because the players had said they needed a little bit more of a leash and a little bit more time off, etc. Right? And they reined that in. They gave more structure to the players as the season went on, and we saw improvement in the way the team played. So you're doing boot camp before that. right? So maybe that's causing those feelings from the players where it's like, oh, I really need a rest, which is totally normal. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Did we do it to him again? And is this the same pattern? It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible that it's just, hey, maybe we played a lot of League. We learned a lot of things. We're tired. We traveled. We're catching up, you know?
Yep.
It could be just like, we're going to be fine. Like it was last split.
Right.
I know we lost the finals, and I know we lost them in a not great way, but we made the finals. We beat some good teams on the way. So,
for sure.
you know, it's like, this could be all a flash in the pan.
Yeah. And look, I think I'm going to come back to this point that I brought up earlier, which is we're 3-2. And I have to I want to hit another aspect of this, which is our 2 losses are against Evil Geniuses, who are good still, and they're against Cloud9, who I think I didn't pay a lot of attention to power rankings. Most people had near the top, and small sample size theater. They are 2-0 since having their actual roster playing. So I know the game against the Dignitas was shaky. That was their first game back.
That's the ultimate small sample size theater.
It is. But look, I think that the point stands, which is people expect them to be very good. People expect this roster to be, I think somebody picked them to win, right? Like one of the kind of the analysts, maybe somebody on the analyst desk. So
they always do.
I would say it's hard. I wouldn't say that we haven't improved with our boot camp. There's no, empirical way to actually establish that, just because we don't, there's no, we don't know how the LCS has gone when we didn't do that.
Yeah.
But I will say we beat TSM, we beat Dignitas, and we beat Golden Guardians. And those are 3 teams that you need to be beating regularly if you want to be where we want to be, which is at least, winner's bracket positioning kind of throughout the entire split with a push toward the championship at the end, right? And so I'd say right now we're on plan. Clearly there are things we need to work on. Clearly there are areas of concern that we've talked about. But I think it's time to pause the alarm. Just snooze it. Let's snooze the alarm.
Which brings us to our final take from Darkuth. He didn't even submit this take. This is just something he said in the Discord when we were talking about sending takes, and I'm like, I'm using this.
Yeah.
He said, and his take is, I don't really even have a take from these games. They happened. We won most of them. It's fine. So my take is a big shrug, I guess.
We won most of them. I love that. That's it. We won more than we lost of them.
Yeah. I think that's where we're all right now. But, we've been in this position before, so I get why people want to fight about it. Yeah, we're just going to need to give it more time, and I know how much everybody loves to do that.
Yeah.
But speaking of giving it more time, so next week, the first game is against the Mighty Morphin Team Liquid. 4-1, tied for first.
Yep.
They lost to TSM this past weekend, but they won a throw from FlyQuest.
Yeah,
FlyQuest totally threw that one.
FlyQuest was about to beat them, huh? Yeah, that's right.
They definitely were.
So TL almost pulls off the 0-2 week.
Yeah.
Against TSM and Fly. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. Team Liquid Honda.
Team
Honda Liquid.
Team Liquid Honda.
Okay.
So, what do you think?
Man. You know what? I got to just I'm going to say this. I think I'm going to start this is what I'm going to commit to this for this split. I'm going to pick it based on half-baked things that I think could happen.
Oh, that's the only way we do this podcast.
Exactly. I guess what I'm saying is I'm just going to stay consistent to my core values here.
Good.
I think we beat Team Liquid because I think their coaching staff forgets to ban the champions we're good at, and we get to play them, and then we beat them. I think that's how this game goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what TL's core values are. So they're just sticking to their guns too.
Nice. Love the digs. Here's the deal, though. Good teams. They're a good team.
Yeah.
Good teams don't string a lot of losses together. They lost TSM. They were about to lose to FlyQuest. I think those are more wake-up call than anything else. I think they're going to be on point this upcoming week, and we are not looking like we're quite there yet.
Okay.
So I think we actually dropped this game. And also, on the personal effects side of things, Bjergsen, man. Dude is going off. And you know how much that goes against everything I hope and wish for. So they're going to beat us. They have to.
And his who was it he played in that last game? Castlevania champion.
Oh, Swain.
Yeah, it was Swain. And that champ, they must have changed something with his ult, because his ult lasted for about 45 seconds at one point.
It did so much damage.
And it just melted everybody. It was insane.
It's such a cheat code. Anyway, so I think we lose to Team Liquid Honda. And then the next day we play Immortals Progressive.
The two of them together.
I like that because you can't say Progressive Immortals because that sounds really weird.
It does.
Immortals Progressive, who is 1-4, tied for 9th place.
Progressive Immortals, like a weird super pack.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, we can't go there. Lost to EG and Dignitas. So and Dignitas is also sitting at the bottom of the standings. So
yeah,
I'm going to go out on a limb and say we're going to win.
Yep.
Especially because they don't have Yohoto anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a guy who is definitely going to get wins here and there against us because of me.
Yeah.
And talking on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I think we win. I just think Immortals is not a team that is going to win many games. And I don't think they'll beat us.
And we're going to pray for Kenvi to win games that when it's not us, but it is us this week. So
I know.
All right. So you've got us 2-0. I've got us 1-1. Of course, I'll be right. So we look forward to talking about that next week on the pod.
We do. We sure do.
Again, I'm going to be in my home court, so it should be a good time.
Yeah.
We have one cool thing coming up for sure.
Oh.
So I'll go ahead and say this. Put it out there on the radar for you guys. Coming in mid-July will be, finally, the 100 Talk community versus the Flight Check community in Rec League.
Yes.
All right, so get ready for that.
Yeah, start practicing.
Assemble our crew because the pride is on the line here.
Wait, we're not playing in that, are we?
I think we are.
Oh, dear. Okay.
We'll figure out the details there. I think we are playing.
Ooh, boy. All right. Calling all professional players we know.
He says what game? This is, of course, League of Legends, because both of our podcasts center around League of Legends.
Yeah, we're going to need a hard carry.
Though maybe we need to do another Valorant pod here soon. But yeah, so that's I'll give you guys the exact date when I confirm/remember, but I'm pretty sure we've got it set.
Cool.
So I think that's 2 weeks from this upcoming Thursday.
Sounds right.
So I'm still going to be on vacation for this week, so there's not going to be any Rec League this week, but we should be back to fully normal schedule the following week. So we
the 4th of July.
Oh, wow, your audio got messed up somehow.
Oh.
Really badly. So what a great time to end the pod. Thanks for being here with us from the special From the Basement edition, from the Basement Media Room edition of Hunter Talk. We look forward to talking about our 1-on-1 weekend next week.
2-0. 2-0 weekend. Look forward to it.
All right, I can't listen to Jordan's buzz anymore. So we love you and we miss you already.